JB, I hope you're all doing extremely well. This January, Monday the 19th, this month, as I always say, it's going really fast. It's going very, very quickly. So look, guys, I hope you're all doing extremely well this Monday. What a fantastic weekend. I must say, look, for all this team's faults, there are still players in this team that, in my view, need to absolutely go. But look, sometimes you've got to give teams and give players praise when they play well. Bobby's in the house. Hope you're doing extremely well, my friend. Now, apologies for not doing a show last night. Went to the gym, got back, and I was absolutely knackered. So yeah, just had a night off last night. Went to the gym, enjoyed it, got back late, and yeah. Dino is in the house. Henderson, mate, I love the opening. It's great to finally be here. I love it. Legendary opening, my friend. So, look, as I say, apologies for not doing a show last night. I just went to the gym, got back, chilled, tired. Nikarutsu, Afternoon JB, and a wonderful folk of the channel. Look, you guys are legends of this channel. And, of course, I hope you're all doing extremely well. So, first thing to say, look, get into this amazing community. This is one of the most, this is the best community on the platform, with you amazing guys that have helped me build this. Be respectful to the community, be respectful to the chat, be respectful to yourselves. Sir Jackie is in the legend category as well, and look, otherwise you will get banned. The ban hammer will come out, and the mods will be out in force, and we will ban you. It's not something that we like to do, but we will. Versus big up Legend JB, mate. Hope you're doing extremely well, everybody. Second thing to say, look, I'm not a dictator of this chat. I really do read out your comments, so get them in there. So if you want to make a comment, be careful, because I will read out that comment. And if I do come back on your comments, it's not because I'm disrespecting the comment. It just basically means that you I've sparked the topic of conversation. So what are we going to get into today? So look, we're going to get into the chaos that is this club. We can get into the match as well. Look, all the toxic positivity that is coming up. But look, these players do deserve a little bit of praise. I'm quick to criticize these players. Doesn't mean that these players are the best players, and it doesn't mean these players shouldn't go. It literally just means that, look, we have to give them a little bit of praise. I do, and I have to talk about this. I have to talk about Nicky Butt and Scholes. I've got to. I would have spoken about it sort of last night. What I have noticed, I have noticed a lot of channels sweeping this under the carpet for some reason. They're taking a lot of stick, and damn well, they should be taking a lot of stick today. The board are meeting today as well to discuss the transfers. I will give you a little bit of update on that from what I know. And yeah, let's get into the stuff. So let's get into the meeting. Let's get into the meeting. So there's and again, this has been confirmed by Fabrizio. Romano has said, look, the board are going to meet today to discuss the transfer window. Now, look, whatever we think about this, and I'll give you my opinion. Scattergun approach. I was gonna name the title of the video, but that's not me. I changed it. Was basically I was gonna say, I told you. Not saying that I told you guys. But look, I've been telling you this since October time. We're going to literally sign nobody or a cheap player on loan, or we're going to buy a cheap player. I've known this. I've been told this since October. The plan was to sign absolutely nobody. And again, we have spoke about this on the channel, how basically we were looking to sign an Igalo type, a Veghorst type of player, like a really cheap player. Now, I got told, watch out for Højbjerg, watch out for a Loftus-Cheek. Now, since then, look, things change. they shifted and pivoted from Loftus-Cheek. So look, look, I just got told to watch that. I'm now being told kind of moving away from that. I've also been told that basically Dino's in the house, Nicky Legends. I've been told that Loftus-Cheek, you're gonna wish we signed a Loftus-Cheek. You're gonna wish it. You're gonna wish that we signed a Loftus-Cheek, because the potential signing that I don't know. I've not been given names. I've just been told that. Zajara says hello. Look, I've not been told names. Look, the person that I talked to, they're keeping it very, very, very close to their chest. They don't know. But all I have been told is this: is that you wish when you find out who it is, you're gonna wish you have signed. You're gonna wish you have signed Loftus-Cheek. So AC Milan, I think, have shifted their stance as well. Is that he's not available on loan unless somebody comes in and really makes a ridiculous offer. So forget about that. Højbjerg as well. Look, I've been told that there could be some stuff around that, but from what I've been told is, look, you're gonna wish we would have signed a Loftus-Cheek. So expect an Igalo type of transfer. It's not going to be good. It's not going to be. But look, if I hear any names, I will let you know. But that's all I'm going to start with that. Also, as well, look, we've been speaking about this. We've been speaking about this on here for quite some time, and I've been telling this community, but nobody will listen to me. In terms of, I keep saying this. Thank you, my friend. You subbed to the channel, absolute legend. While others have been talking about some menu coming, Neves is not on the table. This is going to be a cheap lump deal. And look, this may not happen. And this is the 31st of this month. So we've got, 12 days? So they are scrambling around trying to do a cheap deal. And look, we are Pamland. Dino's right. We are in for Tripod FC. Look, give me your opinions. Give me your opinions on it. I've been extremely calm about this whole window. I just think this window is typical United, typical what we do. So let me go through your chats. Let's have a little look. But oh, you mean Nicky? I was named after an English Rangers player. Scholes and but the gift that keep on giving. What are we? 17 days into transfer window and not even a cardboard cutout on finance to show something. Hello, One United again back to winning. Henderson says, I'd rather they sign no one than any of those names. I was named after a pair of dirty underwear. Sacking the manager gives the board another excuse not to sign anyone. All they have to say is we're going to wait until the new until the manager comes in and still not spending anything. That's why I changed my name from Mark to Bobby. Sky says Poundland FC is definitely an appropriate name. What date does the window close yet? I went looking for jelly tots in Poundland. Absolutely nowhere to be found. Scar Blue Army says Steve. Hello, Steve. Hope you're doing extremely well, my friend. Absolute legend. Jelly tots is where we are in this chat today. So look, we there's gonna the most pathetic thing about me on this is that we're stretching out a transfer window on two things. Number one was who's going to be the interim coach. who is going to be the interim manager. They stretched that out for a week. Absolutely pathetic. Just absolutely just goes to show the ineptitude of this club. And now they have a secret loan midfield player. I was thinking about this, and there could be anybody from a Rabiot, and I'm thinking one of the Spurs players actually. Somebody did mention to me about a Spurs player, so one of the old Spurs midfield players, somebody who's injury prone. I was talking to one of my friends, and this is not an exclusive. This is just, I was talking with a friend of mine, and they were basically bounding Pogba's name around. They were bounding around Pogba's name. I really hope that's not true. I don't think it is, but look, everybody is bounding around names right now. Everything from Pogba to Mkhitaryan to God knows whatever. So look, it just goes to show to me how Mando says Forza Roma. It just goes to show to me. That this club has no idea. We talk about best in class. We talk about this footballing structure. They weren't going to buy any players for an Amarin, and now they're looking to do a really low and cheap deal. And you could predict this. We said this on this channel, but I would have predicted there is no value in the market, and their MO is they do an Igalo deal, they'll do a Weghorst deal, they do this absolute cheap, horrible deal just to settle you down, just to basically tell this fan base to shut up. That is the level of a disrespect. So look, they may not even get the sign, and the reason why this is a secret deal is because they don't want you to know, because they know the fan base is going to kick off. Of all the players that are out there, and Neves, 15 million. I mean, why wouldn't you go out and do that deal? It is ridiculous. You're looking for cheap deals because there is no money. It's just at this point, this is an absolute banter club and absolutely ridiculous. Can you expect Mazraoui in place of a Dalot? So Mazraoui was runner-up in the AFCON, and look, would I be expecting him back for the next game? No. I think it's going to take him a little while to come back. So Mazraoui, I think, will come in, but it really does depend. We are where we are in this season, so I think Mazraoui coming back is another player, but your guess is as good as mine. What Ziadjar says, United now buy right back, 2 transfers to the best right now. It's the Benfica player, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Vlahovic. Look, we're not getting those players. The latest rumour and what I have been told is don't expect a good signing. Expect a Weghorst signing. From what I know, this player is an injury-prone player. He's older, 30 plus. He's an older player. Doesn't play in the... Look, Neves is off of the table. And again, Dino, you're right. It is just ridiculous. United are putting it out there, the spin that basically there's a secret midfielder out there because they want you to talk about it. They want you to click on their website. They want you to click on the socials. They want you to interact with the channels, and they're doing it on purpose. So it's just an absolute ridiculousness, and it's another Wilcox. It is another Wilcox special. Let's have a little look. JB, I must be due a blue name since nobody's rubbed it right into me. Seriously, I won't abuse the privilege. Tell you what, Sir Jackie, as you were always here, you have a promotion. Promotion for Sir Jackie, as he's always here. With great power comes great responsibility. So, you know, look, the more mods, the better. You guys are awesome. So, look, you are right. You know, so welcome to the mod, Sir Jackie. Henderson account says pay the price or pay the price for not paying the price. Up the Villa, says Adam Lettuce. Adam Lettuce, I watched the Villa game yesterday, and again, nobody seems to want to win this league. Nobody seems to want to go out there and challenge an Arsenal. You know, Arsenal may win this league on the basis that everybody else will bottle the league. Now, I watched Villa yesterday. Look, Villa, I thought were played reasonably well. You know, you could tell that Villa need players. Like Aston, I was rooting for Villa. You know, I was quite impressed with Everton as well. By the way, you know, I thought they played quite well. Villa towards the end of the match were just pumping balls in there. They just couldn't get the goal. Look, Everton are a wily side. You know, I think Everton are a dark horse in the European places. Obviously, I had no dog in the fight, but like it would have been nice to see Villa close that gap to what would it have been, 3 points, 6 points. Villa, I don't think Villa are going to challenge for the title. I think Villa, without players, could drop more points. You know, I really hope that Villa do something. Morgan Rogers, though, what a player he is. What an absolute fantastic player. John McGinn, I think, is injured as well. So, look, I was rooting for Villa yesterday on the basis that I wanted them to close that gap. But look, I thought David Moyes masterclass yesterday as well. So, you know, I you know, but look, Henderson account is right. You know, we beat City. Right now, everybody's jumping on the bandwagon. Give Carrick the job full time, and that's absolutely your right to do so. That's your privilege to do so. To, you know, after a game, that is what this fan base does. Now, this is linked to the transfer window, right? If we want to push for top four, and I know many of you guys are there, we are an injury away in the midfield from implosion. We've been saying this all season. Now, Ineos, the Glazers, Wilcox will take this as an excuse because we beat City. Look, we can beat anybody on our day. We played simplistic Ollie ball. Like Carrick has to take credit for setting up the team. Amarin has beaten City. Ten Hag has beaten City. Ollie has beaten City. We know how to beat them. We sit back, played 2 banks of 4, broke fast, countered attack. City had 0. Now, there's a reason why I am talking about the City game, because obviously the next thing I'm going to talk about are Nicky and Scholes. Disgraceful. But look, you know, I will give the players praise as well. You know, I thought Bruno Fernandes probably had his best game in a while. And of course, the Bruno fans are out in force. They are, never mind Fernandes's previous year or so of being petulant, of not being great. Yesterday was a good performance. He's better in that number 10. You know, if Bruno wants to play like that every game, then of course you keep him. You know, do I think ultimately we're gonna win the league with him? No. Are we a better side with him in when we're playing well and he's a number 10 and he's on it? Yes. But I would still sell him. I still think the inconsistency is there. If Bruno Fernandes can continue this until the end of the season, if he stays and beyond. But look, we've been here before with him. You know, Bruno Fernandes flatters to deceive. These players do it. You know, yesterday's game, you know, I've got to give praise to some of these players. You know, yesterday, you know, and fans are going mental. You know, apparently we're back. You know, Carrick is the man. You know, we get people on here as well. And look, I'm not disrespecting their opinion. Carrick apparently is the embodiment of Fergie. Carrick is the new guy who's going to take us to a league title. You know, he needs to be given. You know, and it's one game. It's one game. You know. You know, I thought we had a good game, but can we go to the Emirates? Can we go to Fulham? You know, can we go to these teams who play a low block, and can we break that down? It's just I don't know, but these players fool again. These players fool this fan base again. They pluck out a performance and people seem to buy into it. But look, it is just one game. Now, Martinez. Now, you know where I'm going to go with this. I'm going to shift now. So Martinez for me, look, I said at the beginning of the season when everybody was saying, look, Martinez is going to come back. The butcher's back. We can't wait to see him come back. Now, I said, I never ruled it out. I said, I don't know if he's going to come back to be the same player. Now, this is based on Luke Shaw. This is based on a Mason Mount. This is based on he was 27, 28. He's been out 2 years. You know, he had a bad ACL and he's been out for 2 years. Now, many of you were saying, no, he's going to come back and he's going to be fantastic. I said I'd love him to come back, but I don't think he will. On this occasion, I love to be proven wrong. I always say this: if I'm wrong on something, it means something right has happened, and I'm more than happy to be proved wrong on this. More than happy. Look, he has come back and he's been out for 2 years, right? He brings Steele into the side. The attitude is fantastic. He's a leader. You know, he's getting back to his best, even though he was out. You know, he's been fantastic. He brings the grit. He brings that determination, organisation. And I thought for the first time yesterday, Martinez was back. Like, that is the, you know, I don't like to use that phrase that people are back, but yesterday I felt like Martinez was truly back. Now, what a performance! And yes, it suits them. It suited them to play in a slower, low block, a back four with Casemiro in front. But Martinez gets stick. People forget that Martinez won a World Cup, you know, and again, that doesn't mean the be all and sort of end all, but he did. And there's an interview with him, and if you listen to what he said, you know, at one point he was depressed. You know, he didn't even know if he was going to come back. He was frustrated, and he forced his way back. And you know, that's got to tell you everything that you need to know about this player, about the character of this player. Haaland, one of the best strikers in this league. You know, you can argue one of the best strikers. He's still got time to go yet to grace the Premier League ever. You know, he's still got a lot of time to prove that as well. Whether he will remain here will remain to be seen. But Martinez pocketed him yesterday. You know, Haaland didn't have a sniff yesterday. Haaland was absolutely atrocious yesterday. And, you know, Martinez takes stick, and we are going to segue into Nicky and Paul Scholes, and I'm going to read the chats first, and then I want your opinions on the game yesterday. I want your opinions on the players. Do you think that this is a false dawn? Do you think that United are back? Do you think that we're going to push it now? Do you think that we can beat Arsenal? Do you think that we can finish fourth? I want to know all that stuff. Let's go through some of your chats. Barry says Villa selling Marlon is such a strange move. Maybe he wanted to leave for personal reasons, but my God, why weaken yourselves before you get a replacement through the door? And Barry, mate, you're right. I watched that Villa game yesterday, and they just look like they need players. They really, really do. It was a mad weekend at the top of the table. It was ridiculous. You know, I never thought Arsenal getting a point would be a good result. In the context of the weekend, a win would have been better for Arsenal. But at that point, every point counts. The new podcast, JB Mod Corner, exactly. I'm off, gonna get some stuff for work. See you later, Sky. Have a look. Code Logic says, haven't seen the reversible shirt in decades, mate. I love this shirt. This shirt is absolutely legendary. Kevin McGee says, what previous? He's been our best productive player for 5 years. Look, Kevin McGee, my friend, I know you are a big Bruno Fernandes fan. Look, you know, Bruno Fernandes has been our best player, and I'm not going to dispute he hasn't been our best player, because that would be a biased thing to say. But the last year he's been petulant. You know, look, the fact that Bruno Fernandes, I'd argue this with you this season, Fernandes hasn't been our best player. You know, the fact that Bruno Fernandes, in my view, and Kevin, you can disagree, mate. That is your view. Bruno Fernandes hasn't been good for a year. Fernandes is petulant. Fernandes is not a captain. Even when Fernandes was in that number 10 position, we went to the final with Spurs. Right, our captain needs to perform. Bruno Fernandes has gone hiding throughout the biggest games this year. Bruno Fernandes, I know he's played in that number 8 position, and I've said this is not his fault, but I still expect certain things as a captain. And look, if Bruno Fernandes yesterday, one game doesn't make him suddenly back to form, it doesn't make him this amazing player again. Yesterday, he was a great player yesterday. You know, he came back in that 10, and when he's got the time and the space, he's a fantastic player. You know, I think he shouldn't be the captain, and if you take that captaincy away from him, and if he starts playing like that again, Kevin, consistently, he will be our best player again. And I'm not opposed to, you know, like, I'm not opposed to my opinion based on what I've seen. And you can talk about this season, you can talk about Fulham, you can talk about Grimsby, Bournemouth, Brentford, the Toffees, Brighton, West Ham. You know, he has not been good this season, but he's now back in that number 10 position. He's back in his role that suits him, and I hope that Bruno Fernandes now gets back to that phenomenal player that we know that he can be. Like, I just want these players to do well, but I'm also not fooled. Now, I think it's time that Fernandes go. There's this weird thing in this fan base right now where people think that Bruno is one of our legendary players. He's not. People are so scared to let Fernandes go. I don't get it. I don't get it. We've been so bad that by comparison, it's like Casemiro, right? Casemiro, you know, people will say he rolled back the years against City. You know, he was an amazing player. You know, Casemiro had a good game, but Casemiro was in that position where he had protection around him. You know, he's an anchor player. He's a destroyer, but he needs people to protect him. And he's been one of our best midfield players because we've got nobody else. He still wouldn't get into a top 4, top 3 side. He wouldn't, and when I say that, I mean in a typical season, he would not get into a top 4 side. Now he looks like one of our best players because we've got nobody else. There has been no comparison. If we gone and got an Anderson, a Berrada, a Steele, he would literally look like a championship player. It's not his fault. He is 34 years old. This is not a witch hunt for these players. I want these players to do well. But as soon as these players have a good game or a phenomenal game, the last 14 games have been forgotten. There's a reset every single game. You know, we're now going to be talking about beating an Arsenal. Can we beat an Arsenal? I don't know. Just because we beat a City, the expectation is we're going to go to the Emirates, we're going to play the same way, and we're going to beat them. This Arsenal side is a different side. It's a different, team. They're not the same as a City. And it's almost like we have a reset. I would love Bruno Fernandes for the rest of the season to be the most phenomenal player, and I will say that I will score him in games, and I will be fantastic. But these players have been shit all season. These players finished 15th. These players finished 15th last season, and suddenly because they win a game, everybody's back out. Oh, Fernandes is the most fantastic player again now, and this is what Ineos and the Glazers want, and people fall for it. People fall for it all of the time, and this is not me wanting to be right. My fucking eyes don't lie. My eyes do not lie. This side is one of our worst sides that we've had, and just because we beat City, everything is forgiven again. You know, and look, even if we get top 4, is this team forgiven? No, because we've still got a Dalot, a Luke Shaw, Casemiro, Maguire. Look, Maguire had a fantastic game, but Maguire is not the future. You know, this club still needs to be purged. You know, I'm listening. I've heard less about Glenios out. You know, I'm hearing less about the Glazers out. Wilcox has got a reprieve. I bet he is sat there just praying that we go to Arsenal and win. And this is not a vendetta against the players. I want these players for the rest of the season to play amazing, and I will not apologise. I will not apologise for the criticism up until this point, because it is deserved. Going forward, if they can play better and get top 4, then of course my mind will change, as it should do. But I will not apologise for the things that I've said, because they've been discussed in this season, and let's hope so that they can move forward and this can be a platform. But we've seen this before. We've seen this film before. We've seen this TV series before, and it's a cultural reset. Nothing has changed so far under this ownership. He's the best 10 in the world, so why wouldn't we win the league with him? What inconsistencies? He is not the best 10. And again, Kevin, look, mate, there's nothing wrong in that opinion. He's been what? You telling me what inconsistencies? His output hasn't been great. He's not tackled this season. You know, mate, we played Grimsby. We played the Toffees. We have not won games. He's played in that pivot. He's been awful. We've been destroyed through the pivot. Anderson against Forest made him look shit. You know, inconsistencies. He's petulant. He hasn't tackled this season. He's been in that 8. And look, I can forgive all of that because he's not a number 8. But the minimum I expect as a captain has been to inspire this team. The most frustrating thing for me, look, and it's just a frustration, Kevin. If you think that he's the best 10 in the world, he's not the best 10 in the world. He's nowhere near the best 10 in the world. You can argue that he's one of the best 10s in the Premier League. But he's not been great, and it's inconsistencies, you know. The penalty and the referee stood on his heels. He's not been good this season. He's not been good. He's not been good. But look, Kevin, that's your view. That's your view, mate. Dinner says it's okay to have one game in God knows how long JB consistent is. A massive problem. No, it is. He was out for the season. He was out for a season, played 32 games last season. He was out for a season, played 32 games last season. Kevin, I don't see how playing 32 games last season is an excuse for this season. He's a professional player. He had a summer off. He came back. He played in an 8. I don't understand the defense of a 32 game season. I don't get it, because every player plays a 32 game season. Roy Keane, Giggs, Beckham used to play a 40, 50 game season. When we were at our peak, Cristiano, Carrick, Scholes, Tevez, anybody in our team, when we were playing, Champions League football, trying to win a league, go and fight in an FA Cup, they played 60 game seasons. So Kevin, I don't buy into this. He played 32 games a season. So fucking what? I don't get that. Rooney consistently played 50 plus games a season, and that's why he was done at 31 years old. Just because he played 32 games last season, that's a drop in the ocean. Like, that is not an excuse, Kevin. He is back because he was pissed at Scholes, but he looked like a captain on Saturday. Haaland is cracking up. Haaland is still in Martinez's pocket. JB, I know it's only one game. We can't get carried away, but say if we hopefully go on a run of games and qualify for the Champions League, would you give Carrick the job? Look, if we take it game by game, with this league this season, can we finish in the top 4 or 5? Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Now, I still don't trust this team. I don't. I'm still having my opinion that we finish 8 to 10. However, if we can beat Arsenal and we go and win the next 3 or 4 games, like if we win the next 3 or 4 games, then of course I'm allowed to change my opinion. You guys can change your opinion. Then I will have to admit that we are in a top 4, top 5 race. That is what I said before the run of December games. Would I give Carrick the job? No, Rob, I wouldn't, because it's Ollie again. When are we going to move away? When are we going to move away from this player FC? I guarantee you, if we go Carrick, it will be for cheap. Carrick will work with these players. It will be Ollie FC again. When are we going to learn? I want to do something different. But look, it doesn't matter what I want, really. It doesn't really matter what I think. This is just my opinion. I wouldn't give Carrick the full-time job. I wouldn't. I want best in class. I want the best players. I want the best coaches. But if the caveat for me, Rob, is if we're not going to go out and we're not going to get the best players, Carrick, you might as well give him the job. So my opinion on this is there are 2 ways to look at this. Is number one, I want the best coaches. I don't think Carrick is that. I want the best manager, the best coaches, the best players. If that is not what we're going to have and we're going to do an Ollie FC again, give it to Carrick. Because there is nobody who's going to come into the squad without players and do anything. So, it's a difficult one to answer. My answer is based on 2 things. One, if we intend to buy the best in class players, I want the best in class coach. If not, and we're just going to make do and we're going to sign the odd player like here and there, give it to Carrick, because it doesn't matter. My only observation on it and my only opinion is are we going to do another Ollie? We've been told and primed up for the fact they're best in class. This team is going to change. This club is going to change. Ineos and the Glazers want this team. They want this team to finish between 4th and 6th every season. They've got no intention, and I've been saying this for such a long time, that all they want to do is make it to the stadium. They want to do this on the cheap. You know, they've got no intention of investing in this side, investing in the squad. All they want to do is make it. They just want to make money still. Martinez took Haaland to United going on a title charge. Harif, mate, come on, Harif. Come on now, Harif. I am not entertaining a title charge. And this is what I mean, Harif, about this fan base, mate. Look, if that's your view, I'm not going to call it out. But when are we going to be different? When are we going to be a different club? We're not on a title charge, mate. We we're just not. We're so far behind Arsenal, City, Chelsea. You know, this season, the only reason why we've got a sniff of 4th or 5th is because it's so inconsistent. On paper, we have got the players to do it. We have. But we're not on a title charge, mate. 100% not. I seriously think you could be top 4. It seems like everyone's league this season. I do agree. We really shouldn't go too far ahead of ourselves. 1 win after a dreadful run of draws. We lack consistency. It was great performance, but we need to have a run of these performances to convince me we are turning the corner. Exactly that. No spam in the chat. Exactly. Or you will get done in the chat. Yeah, we don't mind. We don't mind banter. Don't mind banter. Someone says greetings, JB. So what cheap line is this? So, obviously, you know, I've said this. You know, I talk to, you know, whoever. Look, Loftus-Cheek, forget that. They don't know. I'm not going to even pretend to guess. You know, they don't know. All I've been told is, Simon, all I've been told is you're going to wish it was a Loftus-Cheek. I know people have moaned and said they don't want a Loftus-Cheek. I've been told, no, I've not been told that it's not a Højbjerg. I've been told you're going to wish it was a Højbjerg. You're going to wish it was a Loftus-Cheek. It's going to be a player who is like an Ighalo, a Weghorst. Apparently, they're injury prone. You know, there is talk out there. I was talking to a pal of mine, and he's basically, you know, he's adamant that it could be a Pogba. You know, that sort of player. You know, that sort of player who's you know, been linked to us before. I don't know. I can't remember the Spurs player's name. There's a couple of them who went to AC Milan. Bakayoko, and again, like, these are my guesses. Bakayoko. I don't know if when Yama is going to come in. There's nobody from the Saudi leagues that rules out Kante. Gundogan as well. I've heard rumblings about that, not from this guy, but you know, Gundogan. You know, we're talking that sort of player. Now, not that Gundogan, a Man City would necessarily come, but we are talking about that sort of 35-year-old, not Emre Can. I don't believe it's Emre Can, the Liverpool links. You know, we're talking somebody of that style who's injury prone. You know, let's see where we are. Shout out to the mods for timing out any Muppets exactly. Red of Dead says we beat City, who play a high line, with Carrick have an answer for a low block. We beat City break before. Bruno had a good game, but we need consistency every game from him and the team. Exactly. Nicky Roots, Jamie Vargas said, good morning, JB. I sell Bruno and get a younger midfielder who are Premier League proven. Look, and there are Bruno Fernandes fans out there. It's almost as soon as one game happened and he had a good game, he had space, he had time, he's back in the 10. No problem with that. But I would still sell Bruno Fernandes. I would still sell him, and that's my view. I'm not going to back down from that. A 32-year-old player who's not going to get better. He's going to start to fall off and decline. And people shit themselves. I don't get it. I don't get why people shit their pants if Bruno Fernandes will go. Roy Keane left, Cristiano left, Rooney left, Kanchelskis left, Ince left, Schmeichel left, Irwin left, some of these players got older, Sharpie left, Bex left, Carrick retired or left. There are so many players, so many better players that have left, but there's this thing that I think people have been starved for so many good players for such a long time that they're so scared to let Bruno Fernandes go, and it is baffling to me. The only defence I will come to the defence of those people is because we're not going to replace that type of player. Now, I don't want to replace him like for like, but are we going to get a player of the quality of him? And if we're not, we might as well keep him. Now, as much as I would love to sell and rebuild a squad, if we're not going to get a replacement who has been the quality of him and who is the quality, we might as well keep him. So I would agree with some people who would say don't sell him on the basis that are we going to replace that sort of player? I don't think we will. Simon says, Nicky, yeah. Jamie says, Casemiro channeled his inner Madrid on Saturday. Some ox smells. Yep. Yeah, let you do that, ox smells. Sir Jim, Berrada and Wilcox look like the Three Stooges. Yes, they did. Did anybody see the Glazers on Saturday? Because the Glazers were in town, and I don't remember seeing the Glazers at the game or any footage of the Glazers at the game, which is fucking disgusting. Jamie says, if we get rid of Bruno, Casemiro, Delone, Shaw, who would you replace them with? Love your content. Thanks, Jamie. That is a difficult one, Jamie. Bruno Fernandes, Casemiro, Delone, Luke Shaw. Bruno Fernandes, I wouldn't replace him like for like. I would do something different in that. I would look to get an Anderson, a Steeler, a Gomez. I really like Gomez, and Edison from Atalanta. In terms of a right back, there's there are so many out there. I'd want somebody Premier League proven. Luke Shaw again. I would maybe we look to bring somebody through from the academy like an Amas. It's such a difficult one. But I think for me, we need two midfield players. I think we need to focus on those. Now, I wouldn't mind a Baleba, an Anderson, and a Gomez, or somebody who's cheaper but Premier League proven. Also, you bring in some of the youth players as well. So, but again, will Ineos sign players? What we go through, they've not earned trust. Exactly. Villa lost, Arsenal and Liverpool dropped points, City lose. That's what makes the top four interesting. The top four race this season is far more interesting. I do agree with you. I still think Arsenal will finish second, but I don't want City to win the league. Falou says, at least Arsenal fighting for top 10. Who will be in and what order will the top 4 be at the end of the season, Dino? Dino, I think Arsenal are going to win the league. I do. I think Arsenal are gonna win the league. You know, as much as it would be funny for them to bottle the league, I still think Arsenal are going to win the league. I just think that everybody is trying to bottle the league right now. I don't think City. I think City are too inconsistent. I think people have worked Haaland out. I don't think Pep has got the appetite for it. I think Chelsea are too inconsistent. I don't think Villa have got the squad. I think Arsenal are gonna win the league. I do. I think it's going to be a very it's a very poor league this season. It is a very poor league. Now, Arsenal fans, look, they will tell you that Arsenal are the best and whatever else. And if Arsenal win the league this season, they will be the best team. Fact of the matter, it is. But this has been a poor league this season. This is very much when Leicester won the league. This is not a good quality league this season. And look, if Arsenal do win the league, I'd much prefer Arsenal to win the league than a City. I'd much prefer Villa to win the league. I just think that Arsenal will just have enough to win the league. If they don't, it will be funny. Arsenal do not have an excuse now not to win the league. They just don't have an excuse. So let's see. Sally says there are lots of games to play end of the day. We all hope it goes well, and the issue is not letting Fernandes go. Is that we need ready-made top 10 with passing ability. Agree with you. Profit over production is the front of what the office wants. Welcome to the NFL. Exactly that. I do agree with you. United should appoint Emery. Look, I would love Emery. I just don't think Emery's not going to come. He'd be very expensive. He's got a contract till 2029. But I never say never. I'm leaving here. I want to give you all the middle finger. Why? That's not very nice. I heard Ndidi played with Evans before. Apparently, yeah. Ndidi as well. Ndidi, but Ndidi is in Championship, isn't he? Got to get the likes up. Yes, exactly. Wheels come off again soon, says Glenn. Look, Glenn. I by no way. Mary says I want to give you the middle finger from Turkey. Well, you can fuck off then, can't you? Attention seeking arsehole. You've been banned, so feel free to piss off. The wheels come. Look, Glenn. On this channel, I do not prescribe to. Unlike many fans, and there is nothing wrong with fans getting excited about a win. Nothing wrong with fans getting excited and over-egging the pudding and getting excited about wins. Now, we've been starved for so long. I'm not one of the channels who are going to stop talking about top 4. I will start talking about top 4. Sorry, top 6, top 4. When the time is right. Are we technically in that race? Yes. But Glenn, mate, I'm not fools. I am more than aware that one game doesn't make a season. This team is capable of going on a losing streak, on a drawing streak. And I just think this fan base needs to be very careful about what the expectation is. Alex Ferguson says, I'm not interested in the spin from the club about crappy loan signings. I just want the Glazers in your side. We need a club back. I am with you. I'm with you. Nicky, Roots, a legend. See you in a bit, buddy. I hope you have a good rest of your afternoon. And Alex Ferguson, I am with you. I'm not interested in this mystery signing. Just like I wasn't interested in the interim signing. All this club is trying to do. What this club is trying to do to this fan base, and people are lapping it up again. It is the same old shit. There is no value in this market, but they have to change their stance. And when I say they change their stance, they have to change the rhetoric. And the rhetoric can no longer be there is no value in this market. It can't be because the Glazers are not in charge. They are. So there's a mystery midfielder. They're going to string it out. They're going to string it out. They're not going to make a signing, a true signing, because it takes them more than a month. They don't have money, and this is what people don't seem to follow the trails. We have made a loss in Q1. We made a loss the end of season, which was about £32 million. We made another loss in Q1 of about 10. So we're currently operating at a £40 million loss. How are we going to buy play? Look, we are 1.2 or 3 billion pounds in debt when you include the transfer debt. We've still got players here on our books. We're not signing players. And this mystery signing, the whole fan base is saying, "Ooh, who's it going to be? Is it going to be?" I got told Loftus-Cheek. I got told these different players. Now today it isn't that. Who cares? Who cares about another Igalo? Who cares about another Weghorst? Apparently, from what I've been told, we by comparison, Loftus-Cheek, you're going to wish for a Loftus-Cheek. And I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. I don't care. I want these Glazers and Ineos out. One win, it gets reset. Look what we're saying. Same old scouting and recruitment get over the hill injury-prone players. Someone says we had a chance to sell Brynner for 100 million. Golden chances come once. We could get 2 or 3 players. Agreed, Simon. I think that was a golden opportunity that we missed. And if we're only going to get 50 million for him, might as well keep him. Quitty says Arsenal are scared of us. I don't think they are. I don't think they're scared of us at all. Players come and go, says Dino. It's what you bring in to replace them. It seems we replace players with older, washed players. Someone like Rodgers from Villa at that level minimum as a replacement for Bruno. I tell you what, Morgan Rodgers, what a fantastic player. I really, really like Morgan. I really, really like him. He's just different. Morgan Rodgers is going to be one of those players that is going to go to a big club. He is going to go to a Chelsea. He is going to go to, when I say a big club, I mean a club with ambition. He is going to go to an Arsenal. He is going to go to a City, Liverpool, Chelsea. Now, those are the sorts of players that we need to go for. He is a quality player. John O'Connell says, let's not forget, if Ineos sign a midfielder, we must keep the pressure on them. And the Glazers, yeah, John, agree with you. These arseholes need to go. Rebuilding the squad is like putting together the bionic man. I bet Ineos can't wait to get the players on 300k off the books. Exactly. Probably too cold for them to sit outside. They would have been. Gomez, can we have Lurch and Fester as well? I love it. Nuno Mendes would be a good signing. I do agree. Would you sign Wharton? Wharton for me. Would I sign Adam Wharton? Wharton is one of those players that Wharton for me would be a player that I would sign, but he's not my first choice. I know people like him. I prefer Anderson, Baleba, Stiller. I think Wharton is a very, very niche player. I think with Wharton, I think you'd sign Wharton. You'd need more than Wharton. I think you would need a Baleba alongside him. I wouldn't want Wharton as my only midfield signing. I think we need a Roy Keane type, and I don't think he is that. I think he's a very, very progressive ball carrier. He's a good passer, but defensively, I think we need more. Could Wharton be molded into that player? Yes, but one of the things that I'm finding difficult right now is I had this set plays and set team under an Amorim. I don't know right now because I don't know what this team is. Alexandra says Bruno was amazing v City. His passing was absolutely sublime. He's back in the right position. I thought Bruno had a good game. I don't think he was our best player. I don't think he was amazing. I don't think he was. I thought he had a good game. I thought that was his best game all season. I thought he was very, very good. Look, Bruno had time and space. When you give Bruno Fernandes, a player of that quality, time and space, his passing was much, much better. I thought he was much, much improved. I don't think he was an amazing player in that game. I thought he was a very, very, very good player. I thought his passing was better. No, I thought he showed in that game what we've missed in him in that number 10 position. XD says, who do you think is the mystery player? I personally think it's gonna be somebody like Bakayoko, who played for Spurs. Is it Bakayoko that played for Spurs? I think it's going to be somebody like Pogba. I think it could be somebody like, and I know they're injury prone. I know they're a bit older. Gunda, I'm not saying it is, but I think it's going to be like a Bakayoko. Is it Ndoye that played for Spurs? Victor Wanyama. Pogba, possibly. I don't. Eric Dyer. He's one that springs to mind. For me, Eric Dyer, I think he could be one of the ones. I do think, now that I think about it, I think Eric Dyer could be one of those signings. But look, it's going to be Loftus-Cheek. I was told to keep a watch out on that, on the basis that he was being offered out on loan. AC Milan seems to have switched their stance. Xerxes as well could be going to AC Milan, but look, let's keep an eye on that one. I think it's going to be someone like an Eric Dyer, a Paul Pogba, a Gundogan, a Bakayoko, I think it is. I think it's going to be those sorts of players. I think it's going to be those sorts of players. Rob says, I like Steele in the midfield. Hope they go get him. Oh, you're right, JB. Focus on 6s and push Kobe in 10 if Fernandes leaves. James says, you're saying a mystery midfielder could be a smokescreen. They have nobody in mind until the summer. And James, if you've watched this channel before, I've consistently said on this channel, because this is something that I was told October. United are not going to make a signing in this window. If they do, it's going to be cheap or a loan signing, and it's going to be a signing that they make if they're pressured into doing it. Some says, I can't wait to hear the Champions League theme coming out of Old Trafford speakers. You get that feeling in your spine. I do agree with you. JB, do you think Arsenal will win the league comfortably? I think Arsenal are not going to. I think Arsenal will win the league, but I think they'll stumble it. And what I mean by that is I think they probably will win the league reasonably comfortably, because I think everyone else is going to stumble. I think they're going to stumble as well. I don't think it's going to be comfortable. No. Hassan says, you think, says his Arsenal attack is bad yet. Still top. Unfortunately, the rest of the team's not good enough. Arsenal's defence is elite, and that will be the key factor. Exactly. Jamie says, everything is up for grabs in the Premier League. No dominant team. It's because the Premier League is balanced with talent. Arsenal are not doing themselves any favours with a draw against Forest, but I agree, JB, they will still probably win the league. We have Rice and Timber. I don't really see what Rice and Timber. Declan Rice, yes. Declan Rice is a great player. Odegaard, but I think your defence is more important. I think Saliba and Gabriel. I think those two are. I think that is the reason why. I don't think it's got anything to do with Timber. I think Timber is part of the defensive wise. I think that is. Arsenal are not going to win it because of two individual players. I think Arsenal will win it because I think consistently they will be the better team, and I think Arsenal have the better defence. I have a feeling it's Hackney from Borough for some odd reason. I don't think it is Hackney. XD, I don't think it is Hackney, mate. I don't think it is. From what I've heard out there, and from what I've heard, I did have a brief interaction, and I've been led to believe that it's somebody who's older, it's somebody who's 30 plus, somebody who's injury prone, somebody who's not as good as a Loftus-Cheek. They're a bit older, injury prone. I don't think it's going to be somebody that you expect it is. But look, if it is Aidan Hackney, I don't think it is Aidan Hackney. I don't think it is. I don't think it is. But look, hopefully you guys are right. The only time I start talking about top four is when we comfortably beat a low block team. Simon says, if it was to describe the remaining months as a book, I would expect great expectations and not Winnie the Pooh. Carrick can pull this team around. I have faith in him. Let's be honest, Glazers are there just for the cash. Yes, they are. I can see Rodgers going to an Arsenal, even PSG. Lucky says, average Luke Shaw needs to go out the door by Neves. He's not coming. Rodgers would fit in, if not the Roy Rodgers. I'm sure we could trigger a chance to get him. Ronnie says, hi. Hello, Ronnie. United favourites against Arsenal? Nah. No. No, Arsenal 7047. No. I'm not letting Arsenal get off the hook that easily. Are Arsenal favourites? Are United favourites? No, not a chance. Not a chance. I'm not letting Arsenal get away with that. No. Arsenal are at home. Arsenal are top of the league. Arsenal are favourites, 100%. I wonder what the maximum amount we're going to spend on each player. Ronnie says, I think if we play 70% of the way we played against City, then we're talking, is there for the talking three more points? It depends. Arsenal's back four is better than City's. I think Arsenal will win the league by 3 points. Simon, I'm glad we didn't sign Gyökeres. A necessary signing now. We are out of cups. Simon says, whatever happens with Arsenal, they still get Champions League. So, let's talk about Nicky Butt and Paul Scholes. So Jerry says, I get your frustration with the board. We have the same issue at Celtic with our board and never address our fans. Just take us for granted. Sheer pain. I think we'll actually beat Arsenal with the team will be unchanged, says Rob. So I wanted to talk about, and obviously they are the headline of the thumbnail, Paul Scholes, Nicky Butt. if you've not seen it, I have got a short up there that basically gives you the sort of like highlights. You know, I've seen creators trying to bring this down as well. It is disgusting. You know, players. No, Roy Keane says things about this club and these players. No, fine, you can say what you like about that, right? But when you've got two ex-players on the podcast, Nicky Butt can fuck off. I am sorry. You know, Nicky Butt was a good player. You know, Nicky Butt was a good player. You know, I'm not going to pretend that he wasn't a decent player. He wasn't a world class player for us. You know, he wasn't one of the most amazing players. But Nicky Butt was a good player. But that podcast with Paul Scholes, Nicky Butt, and that other twat, what's his name? Likey Lighty. Sorry, that's awful. What's his name? He was on Top Gear. I'm gonna try to find it out. What's his name? I'm gonna try to find it out. Likey Lighty. What's his name? Likey Lighty. What's his name? Paddy McGuinness. Now, look, you know, in context of these people, right? I'm sure they're nice people away from the studio. I get it, right? But Paddy McGuinness, like when you're sat there, Paul Scholes, Nicky Butt, you know, I know they are footballing players. McGuinness is a comedian, whatever. Paul Scholes was a world-class player. Nicky Butt was, in my view, was an average to good player, right? I would expect, look, criticism of these players at times are just. I've moaned about Paul Scholes before, you know, how he has this opinion on this club, and I don't think he helps. But look, when it's a fair criticism, that's fair enough. But when you're sat there, and to bear in mind, this player has been out for the best part of 2 years. When he's been here, he's better than Nicky Butt. He's been a phenomenal player. And when you're sat there and you're laughing at him, you know, Nicky Butt was the worst. But you know, the pair of hyenas, you know, basically saying that, oh, you know, I hope that Martinez, he doesn't play, and Nicky Butt says, oh, you know, he's going to get picked up. Haaland is going to pick him up like a child. He's going to be like a dad, and he picks him up. And what's the game in that? It is FIFA 98. FIFA 98. And when you've got Nicky Butt saying, you know, that Haaland is going to pick him up. Simon, see you later, buddy. Hope you have a good rest of your day. And when you've got these players laughing, Paddy McGuinness, fuck off. Go and stick to Likey Lighty. Go and stick to your fucking shit show. Go and stick to your failing fucking Top Gear as well, by the way. You know, go and stick to destroying shows. And now you're sat there, the three of you, laughing like a pair of pricks, like a trio of pricks about a player who fucking mugged you all off. Like you basically, it's out there. You've been clipped up. Nicky Butt, especially, what an absolute twat. Paul Scholes laughing. Oh, you know, oh, fucking Martinez. And Martinez fucking sat you three down. We absolutely sat you down. Now, the fact that you're sat there and you've got an audience and you're calling one of the better players out on that pitch, and you absolutely absolutely got fucking mugged off. You got absolutely destroyed. And if I was them, look, if I had any ounce of integrity, if I was those guys, if you had any absolute integrity about yourselves, you would go and apologize. I think you should go and call him up. And Paddy McGuinness, mate, I've got no fucking words. You never played. You're a fucking comedian, even though you're not funny. You present a shitty fucking show. You've got another show cancelled, and you're sat there laughing like a fucking hyena. It is disgraceful. It is disgraceful, and the fact that Haaland is still in is I really hope that before Lisandro Martinez, before he washes his shorts, I hope he remembers to take Haaland out of his back pocket. I just find it incredible. Now look, I've got no problem with his plays. Nicky Butt was a fantastic player. Paul Scholes, legendary world-class player. Nicky Butt was an absolute fantastic player, a leader, a hard man, right? Nicky Butt was a phenomenal player, and this is not about them as players. And I'm sure that they are wonderful people. But when you're sat there with an audience the way you do, and it was for me, it was the total disrespect, the total and utter dismissal and disrespect of a fellow professional, irrespective of what you think about a player. And you're sat there, and look, banter is banter. Look, I get bantered on here all of the time. But when you're sat there, and it was the three of them laughing at this guy, the disrespect, and Martinez basically sat you all down, and it was just disgusting. Brad says, his biggest problem is Sir Alex and the boys not letting the current staff manage. The players just get on with it, and Neville is a complete tosser. I do agree with Neville. I've noticed the most of the time Haaland faces Martinez, he gets pocketed, even in his Ajax days, and Haaland played for Dortmund. Martinez still pocketed him. Sally says, every player has a weakness. Surprisingly, it's not height size. With Lucha, it's being last man. I played against Nicky Butt, says Rob, in my school days in a semi-final. We won the game. He won the game on his own. He scored 2 spectacular goals. One was a volley from just past the halfway line. And look, Rob, again, mate, look, I think that's cool. This is nothing about Nicky Butt, the player. Now, I will say this, Nicky Butt was a phenomenal player. If anything, Nicky Butt was an underrated player. I thought Nicky Butt, again, was one of these players. And when I talk about old players who would do a job for the team, Nicky Butt falls under that category. I always praise him all of the time. This is not about talent. This was not about these players are fantastic players. But when you were a fantastic player, it doesn't mean that your opinions are right. It doesn't mean because you were a legend you've got that right to criticize a current player. And criticize is fine, but it wasn't the criticism. It was just downright disgusting. And I hope, and I really do hope, that Nicky Butt and Paul Scholes are those sorts of people who realise they made a mistake. They realise their criticism went too far. And look, banter's fine. No, I don't want to live in a world where, banter's not acceptable. No, criticise him if he's had a bad performance. That's fine. And I don't want to live in a world where, oh my God, like, you can't say things to people. I mean, I get bantered on here all the time. I get criticised all the time. And that's fine. That is absolutely fine, you know. And I don't want to live in a world whereby you can't say anything to a person. But when you're insulting a fellow professional, and I tell you who does it as well. So Dini as well. So Dini does it as well. You know, he's insulted a Shesko, right? You know, saying that he pisses stronger than a Shesko. You know, and it's those sorts of comments that how does that help the team? Now, like, how does that help a young player? How does that help a guy who's been out for 2 years and he's just come back into the squad? How does that help? And I just find there are 2 types of criticism, or 3 types. You get banter, which is fine. Banter can go too far, but banter is banter. You've got criticism, which I think sometimes is fair, sometimes is not, but it is that. I criticize Fernandez all of the time, but I will also caveat that with he is a fantastic player. He has been a fantastic player, and the criticism that I have is on what I see. Some people will think it's fair. Some people will not think it's fair. But criticism is always going to be there. And then there is a third type that is just rude. It's just uncalled for, and it's just an insult. And I don't think people should be immune from it. I shouldn't be immune from it. Nobody should be immune from that sort of just downright insulting. So I really do hope, I do hope that they either apologise on the podcast, because I think if they're big enough to criticise in the way that they have that sort of player on camera, I think that they've got to have the balls to come on and say, look, you know, we were wrong, and we apologise, or at the very least give them a call. You know, at least do it and say, look, we didn't mean to do that. You know, we were wrong. Just give them a call. You know, you don't. You know, just. But I think they need to apologise and not sweep it underneath the carpet, because their opinions are not more valid than yours. They're not more valid than mine. And people may disagree here, but I think if you're trying to set standards at this club and you're trying to set standards as a legend like of this club, you can't have it the both ways. You can't sit there, because those 2 in the previous game were sat there quite happy to sit there, watch the Brighton game, but then at the same time you go and do that as well. JB, it was brilliant. Butty tracked me a few times. I went flying, but I agree, JB, great player. Nothing against him as a player. It helps the pundits. It does. It does. Let's be Arsenal. Come on. Liverpool says action. Aaron Wilson says we need to go and get Ruben Neves this month. Aaron, from the media, from what I've been told, Neves is at this point, Neves is not on the cards. But look, Aaron, I agree with you. Go and do that deal. I mean, it is a deal that I would go and do. So look, guys, I am going to go. Just a quick show. I will do a show tonight. I will be back this evening. You know, if there's anything that does break, if I hear anything that does break, I will be back tonight, and I will report it. Otherwise, I will be back tonight, this evening, around about 9:30, 10 o'clock tonight. So look, guys, thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting the channel. You guys are legends. You know, look, any like, any watch, you know, you got guys, you do just, you know, you make this channel amazing. And look, I actually, QWERTY, would love it if you joined, but we would be Portugal FC. Right. So look, guys, have a good rest of your morning, afternoon, wherever you are. Look, a bunch of legends. I really do thank you for the support. And I will be back this evening. So look, have a good rest of your morning, afternoon, wherever you are. I'm JB. This is the United Devil channel, and I'll see you tonight. Take care.